Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
We don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street. There's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe. Our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet. Wait a minute, I tell you ain't heard nothing.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell! I'm not going to take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell!
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore!
Hey, everybody, we are back after a long break because it was Memorial Day and we were remembering the fallen, and I was taking the day off. But we left you with a great interview with a good friend, and we talked about the Trump trial, and goodness, we're going to talk about that just a little bit tonight because I've talked about it and I can't talk about it anymore. It has just been a crazy, crazy couple of weeks. Obviously, since we last spoke, we've had the conclusion of the rigged Trump trial. Biden says it's irresponsible for us to call it rigged. So I'm definitely not saying it's rigged. The rigged trial was totally not rigged at all. It wasn't a sham trial brought on by a prosecutor totally that didn't say he was going to get Trump and assemble a biased Manhattan jury and give biased instructions. Totally didn't happen. It wasn't rigged at all. Rigged trial. That concluded, of course. They've got Trump, as they promised they would, 34 felonies. Gosh, it will be appealed, but it can't be appealed until the sentencing. I think it's July 11th is the sentencing. So we'll see what happens. It doesn't matter. The media is already having fun with it. The Trump deranged leftists are on TV celebrating. They're on their social media celebrating the destruction of the last sacred institution we had left in this country, and that's our justice system. Speaking of the justice system, Hunter Biden was in court today. They were picking a jury. I don't even care because he's going to have a much fairer trial than Trump did. I don't even care. The media is going to go and treat him with kid gloves. They're going to give Biden his insulation. Of course, he has this private family matter. Whatever. I don't care. Marjorie Taylor Greene had a awesome presentation today in court. She was taking on Dr. Fauci. I have clips for you for that, holding him accountable for all of his COVID BS. And cracks are starting to show between the left versus the left. Gay pride parades are meeting with free Palestine protesters. Queers for Palestine were fighting gay pride marchers. I swear it was happening, and I have the video to prove it. It has been a crazy couple of days, crazy couple of weeks, but to talk to you about it all, oh, look, there he is my fluffy friend, my sidekick with the mostest, co-host, sorta, my dummy-in-chief and good friend, Puppet Carlson. Welcome.
What's up, David? And what's up, Puppet Nation?
The Puppet Nation is strong, man. They like you more than me. Every time I tell people you're coming, oh my gosh, we have to have the puppet.
There's a good reason for it, David.
I know.
There's a good reason for it.
I know. And it makes me upset because, I try so hard to be professional, and all you have to do is climb out of a trunk, get somebody's hand shoved in your manhole, and all of a sudden you're more popular than me. That is really politics, isn't it?
It's politics and personality, buddy.
Yeah. Well, anyhow. All right, so what have you been up to? what have your last couple of weeks been like there, Puppet, since we haven't talked to you in a while? I mean, you getting stuffed, you hanging out in the trunk. What have you been doing?
This is my last couple weeks.
No. That looks very sad. Just like that?
Nothing happens. Nothing happens when we're not on the air.
Do you get bored in the trunk? Well, what is it like in there for you?
Just sit there, you know. But I have been listening to political radio. So, political podcast, political radio. I've been listening to it all. So I'm completely tuned into what's going on. And frankly, I'm ready to just vomit all of this craziness and start, telling people what the puppet thinks of politics in America today.
What happens when a puppet vomits?
Hairball.
That's probably disgusting. Who has to clean that up?
Cotton ball.
You can't use your hands.
It's a cotton ball. That's what comes out.
It's a cotton ball. Well,
yeah.
Speaking of cotton balls, tonight, Puppet, we have a packed show. We have a crazy packed show, and we're outnumbered. And I'm not like paying homage to Fox or anything, but we're literally outnumbered. We have 3 women coming on, so they're not going to be nice to us. They never are.
No, you know what? This is why I chose you as my co-host. Oh,
you chose me.
You know how to bring on guests.
Yeah, why? Because you think I want to sit here and talk to you for an hour?
No, I'm just saying, 3 women. This is a good show.
Oh, you're excited about it. Okay, well,
I sure am.
All right. So who should I bring up first? Because tonight, Puppet, we have I told you about Puppet. You know about my big guest tonight, Amanda Elizabeth. Of Raised Right Books, and I'm so excited about this. So I met Amanda at a Tucker Carlson thing, the one where I actually showed him the video of you, and he thought it was hilarious. And she started telling me about her book. She has this book company where they write books with conservative storylines. Imagine that. So you can read your kid a story at night without having to explain why the rainbow fish is giving away all of his rainbow scales or some other ridiculous subplot in a story that you just want to read your kids to bed. And meanwhile, you're halfway through it and you're just like, you know what? Where's the Dr. Seuss books? Because this is getting ridiculous. And so I meet Amanda. She shows me her books. And I never got to take them home. I wanted to, but I didn't run into her again. She was out hanging out with Tucker. And I'm like, wait, I want your books. And so I didn't get the books, or else I'd be holding them up and showing them to you. But I'll get some books eventually. But you can get some books if you go to raisedrightbooks.org. And I'll tell you all about that later. But without further, before I bring her in, Papa, wait a minute. We also have our 2 special lady panelists, Aly Legge and Heather McIssac, as Heather. And they're joining us as well because Aly, she's the super mom. She ran for school board to fight against those books. And she also now is the director of civic engagement. I screw up that title all the time, for Moms for America, amongst a million other things. So she's perfect to speak on this. And Heather is a mother herself, a fighter. And she has dealt with, similar things growing up and fighting and being successful. So I wanted to have my super women here to talk to Amanda. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to bring everybody in all at once. We're just going to dump them onto the screen. So feast your guys, prepare yourself at home. We're just bringing them all in one at a time. First up, Amanda, welcome to the David Pollack Show featuring Puppet Carlson. I'm dumping in Aly here. Hold on. There's Aly Legge. And I'm dumping in Heather. Heather coming up. There she is. So ladies, welcome to the show. I don't control the order of the screens of who sits where. Restream does that. So sorry, Aly, that you have to sit next to Puppet. So
it's fine. I love Puppet.
I love you too, Aly.
Next to Puppet.
So I can move them around, Amanda, if you want to sit next to Puppet. I just have to.
It's all right. We can do it later, maybe.
All right, we'll figure it out. So, Amanda, welcome to the show. Here's what's going to go, because there's a million of us, right? I'm going to ask you about your company. I'm going to ask you about how you got started. You're going to tell the story, and then I'm going to send it around the room for everybody to talk about how great you are. Does that work?
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds good to me.
All right. Without further ado, let's get started. So, you had an idea, and you started a company called Raised Right Books. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so my background, I was a nanny for 10 years. I stopped doing it right around COVID time. But in those years, I also was a homeschool teacher during COVID when people weren't actually able to go to school. I was actually working for a a family that had a Dr. Fauci action figure for the kids. So I hope they threw that out today. But
Probably not. They
yeah,
probably petted it and kissed it and made it feel
I
comfortable.
don't even want to think about that.
I know.
I didn't even
Imagine
know
how
those
hard-
existed.
Yeah.
Where did they get an action figure of Fauci?
I don't even know where
I
you would
think
find something.
Fauci's website.
Well, I think there's another name for those, but I don't think it's appropriate to say right now. But they call them. They start with D and end with Ildo.
Oh,
Nice.
it was
So continue.
A lot of surprise and suspense in that. You left out a lot of letters there.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Really had to figure that one out. Yeah, so
Worked hard
anyway,
to-
imagine how hard it was for me to bite my tongue while I was trying to come up with lesson plans for those
Right.
kids.
My goodness.
But I kept it very boilerplate. But anyway, I did make like an entire year's worth of homeschool curriculum. I taught those kids to the best of my ability. And then I started to love linking lesson plans with books because it's such a nice segue into teaching a new topic. Like you can kind of overarch the whole thing and then get into more particulars with crafts or, other activities dependent on the age group. So fast forward, I'm not doing the nannying anymore. I actually am in concrete now. I work in the construction industry. But years later, my friends are starting to have babies and I'm looking for books because they all share my values. So I'm looking for books that kind of go along with that. And I just couldn't find anything that I loved. I couldn't find anything that was more metaphorical, more of a storyline. Like there's a lot of stuff out there that's like the 1, 2, 3s of the Bill of Rights or like something more obvious. But I wanted to make something that was teaching through metaphors. So it grabs the kids' attention. They don't even really know that they're learning it necessarily, but it's all the lessons behind the conservative values that we all love. So right now we have the Second Amendment, we have the value of life, and we have law and order at the border. And they're fun storylines for kids. All the illustrations are hand drawn by our illustrator in the UK. She's amazing. And we love these books and they have really great messaging, not even just conservative messaging, but also, loving your neighbor and just baseline values that kids should have growing up. So we love them. We hope everybody else loves them. And David, I'll definitely send you some copies because I could not find you again at that event.
I was looking everywhere. It got
Yeah.
have events, and everyone rushed to Tucker. That was a fun event, and it was a funny night because Tucker's sitting 2 tables over from me, and he's heard about Puppet Carlson thanks to Aly Legge over here because she saw him at a Moms for America event, and she's like, "Oh, I got to tell you about my friend Puppet." Then we had General Flynn on our show a couple times, and then Chad Caton, our good friend Chad Caton, was there. And we interviewed Flynn, and he sees the puppet, and he's like, "Oh, this is great. I got to text Tucker." And sure enough, he's texting Tucker. And so I had the video of that show, and I ran over to Tucker, and I'm like, "This is going to be weird." I go, "Tucker, this is going to start like a weird conversation, but I'm here to talk to you about a puppet." And of course, Tucker, being the funny guy he is, he's like, "Okay, I'm interested." Yeah. And so I show him the video. He's like, "Oh, I've never actually got to see this." And so he was super excited to see Puppet. And so that was a really fun event. And we got the messaging. That was hearing him speak he's super pro-life if people don't know. Yeah. And he gives a great pro-life speech. And the way he describes, the way he tells the story, he really does a great job. Something totally separate that stuck from that event, he said on stage, and I even tweeted about it. He said that the politicians are not your leaders, they're your representative. When he said that, I just stopped. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, isn't that true? We idolize people that they're supposed to work for us, and that's the issue." Before I get too tangential, okay, I have videos. Y'all tell me when you want these videos to come in because here's what I have.
Tangential.
Tangential. It's Pride Month, Puppet.
Very gentle.
We're getting transgentle today. So before I get transgentle,
does that mean you're not normally gentle and you're going to be gentle?
No, I'm going to be gentle and not gentle. Gentle.
I don't think that means what you think it means, David.
I don't think so.
Well, either way, I have some video clips, and you guys tell me when you want them. Because here's what I got. I got 3 different clips of Marjorie Taylor Greene absolutely lighting up Anthony Fauci. I have a video that you guys are absolutely going to have to see today about a woman who took to Twitter to talk about how America is not the dream she thought it was, and it was a moving clip, so I have it here for you. And I also have a creepy picture of Joe Biden smirking that I just have to show you because
Ew.
no, you have to see it because it's going to enrage you. So,
that's the whole thing.
so this is what we're going to fit in to this thing. Let's start with the beginning, I guess. Because so you start this book company, right?
Mhm.
And the books are excellent. They're illustrated great, guys. I've seen them. So even though I don't have them in my hand because I suck at following up with people, it's really good stuff. So now that you started this company, and then I'm going to send it around the room. What has your success been like? People are buying it. Things are going good. Tell me.
Yeah, we've only been out there in the market for about 6 months, and we've been sending out PR packages recently and just trying to get some contacts, trying to get some names. I have an Instagram, which is my main tool for marketing, and I have 600 followers on there. We're small right now.
Following you right now. What are we talking about?
Great books. Yeah, we're a small business. It's just me and my sister does some, business support. She's more of like the businessy side of things, and I'm the creative. She keeps me on track. So yeah, we're writing the books and in production for about like a year and a half, 2 years though before that, because I wanted them to just be perfect. And it's a lot more work than you would think, writing a book and trying to find a publisher and trying to find a publisher that gives you the customer experience you want. So we ended up actually bringing all our books in-house, which we have behind us here. So I ship them out myself. We do everything here ourselves. But yeah, I felt like there was a gap in the market. We just needed to fill. And Aly and Heather, I'm sure you know as moms, like the creepy books that are out there in our school libraries that, I'm trying to have sort of a counter movement to all of those books.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, we definitely need more books that are triggering to the children, not triggering in like a terrible way, but triggering their imagination, triggering their ability to grasp complex ideas in a very childlike way, which is through stories.
Right.
I think that's something that's really missing in our culture is storytelling. And we've lost it with our grandparents. I didn't really have a great relationship with my grandparents, like divorces and all these things. And so we're all separated because everybody moves. And it's difficult to keep that relationship where the elders in your life are telling these stories so that you can kind of grasp onto that. I mean, I always loved listening to my mom read or to hear other people read to me. So instilling that in your children, I think, is so important, especially with these ideas of the founding of our nation and making it digestible to where they're imagining themselves in the position of our founders or in these positions where they can, just kind of let their own imaginations flourish, but also so they're able to have that conversation with their peers. And I think you finding that there is a need for this and then filling that need is incredible. So I just want to commend you for doing that. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Any help that you need to get out there to get your books into schools, I recommend you trying to do that. Reach out to different school administrators, sometimes go to the school boards. It really just depends on the area you're in. I know we've had some difficulties with Moms for Liberty trying to put other books in the school and suggest their teachers use more conscious-based curriculum instead of the woke bias. And that's been a struggle. But I think if we come together as a community, right? Us conservatives, the ones that just want our children to have a good quality education, you don't even have to be a conservative. Just want your kids to have to learn proper information. That's not a conservative ideology. It's a parent ideology. Parents want their children to know how to properly read, and they want them to be able to read information that is not, destructive to their morals or destructive to their ability to be children. So it's a nonpartisan issue. And I think if we can all just come together as parents and push for that, we would see a big jump in education as far as it goes. So just commending you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the whole premise is, to give kids that imagination, but then also give the parents the tool to talk with their kids about some issues that could be otherwise polarizing, or they might not know how to bring up, like how do you introduce gun safety to your kids? How do you introduce the value of life, abortion? Like that's a huge, tough topic to talk to your child about. But through our books, it's not that hard. It's easy. It's fun, and it's whimsical, and gives parents the tools that they need. So thank you.
That's the best thing about it, because children don't like to learn in a format of here's the knowledge, let me present it to you. When you present it in a fun way, in a storybook, in that capacity, they'll glean it much faster and much quicker because it's being presented in a fun format. And, there are plenty of areas where your books are going to thrive because there's nothing like that on the market. As myself, I am probably one of the most pro Second Amendment people you will possibly meet. And having a book that I can show my son and guide him through this as at least a little bit of an icebreaker is fantastic. And that's the thing is a lot of these concepts that you are discussing are heavy topics depending on the age range, but presenting it in a format that, again, like I said, is like an icebreaker. How fantastic is that? Because you can like drop those little nuggets,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's why we wrote them there. We call them gentle introductions. So it's a gentle introduction to the Second Amendment, a gentle introduction to law and order at the border, because they don't need to know all of these crazy things that are going on, but just so they have awareness of the topic, and then they can kind of form their own opinions. But you can't argue with the values that are in these books. They're very baseline values that anybody should have, like life is precious, no matter how small something is, it's still valuable. Like you can't really argue with that.
Except for liberals.
You'd think. You would think you can't argue with that, but
well, they argue about everything. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Puppet, you have some experience with books too. Now, what you guys don't know, even though he doesn't have working hands, he does like to read. You just have to hold him up in front of him, and he pretends he can read while somebody else actually reads. It's odd. It's odd to watch him do anything, but reading is interesting too. Puppet, what kind of... You have some experience with children's books. Why don't you talk to Amanda about your weird puppet experiences with children's books?
Well, I definitely think that children's books of this nature are needed today more than ever before. And I think that there's surely a market for these things. And the unique things about being a self-publisher that traditional publishers often miss is that we have the ability to get our books in places that traditional publishing never ends up being. And, with the things that you're talking about, introduction to gun safety, well, this would be something that could be sold in Bass Pro Shops, for example. They would stock this book versus, a traditional bookstore, because that's where you're going to reach people that are interested in the same kind of thing, but also have kids and would be interested in a book that introduces their kids to this kind of a topic, right? And maybe there are other gun ranges that would, stock put a book like this where they wouldn't typically have a book at all in the gun range. It wouldn't be something that you would typically see. So I think that there's lots of opportunities for an independent publisher with a niche product that has a niche market to find new avenues to get and pass along our important information to the people that are seeking it and desire it. And I really commend you for doing this, because being an independent publisher is not easy. It is a costly business because books cost a lot of money to create. A lot of people don't realize that. And getting some people to buy books is harder than you'd think, even though that typically a well done book is under $20. Still $20 for a book, and so a lot of people don't want to spend money to read because they don't read after they get out of high school,
kindergarten.
That's not true.
I'm always reading. I can't. It's like with the amount of work that we do and the kind of business that we're in, I think all of us politically, it's difficult to not read.
More people have more people have a Netflix subscription than a library card.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
You're gonna hate me for this, but I'm about the Kindle a little bit when it comes to like more adult books. Now, children's books, there's no replacement because you have the pictures, you have the illustrations. Like I feel like children's books are a safety niche within the book world because you will always need those pictures and that kinetic touching it, changing the
tactile
pages. Tactile, thank you, not kinetic. Wrong word.
You're a military girl with she likes guns. You have to understand Heather's frequently pictured with many guns.
Oh my gosh.
She thinks kinetic constantly. She wants to make things go boom.
Yes.
So yes, she likes books that go boom.
I do like to make things go boom.
She's bottled energy that's ready to go off at any time.
Let's go, Heather. Anytime. Let's go. I'm ready to do it.
2A all day, baby.
You can actually, they do make ebook picture books in ebook format too, and it can be done.
Yeah.
I feel like that doesn't transcend as much for kids.
No, I mean, I wouldn't
on
prefer to read a picture book as a PDF, or an EPUB or whatever they use nowadays. But some people do this, and I have oscillated with my normal reading, my non-children's book reading, reading on a Kindle and in paper. But I mean, there's just, I'm old school. I like old values and I like old books, and I'm made from an old MyPillow. So, I mean, maybe that's what it is.
So what I think is great that Amanda, did I tell you the story of Puppet's origin? We say it on every show. People can recite it at this point. Aly, you know the story of Puppets. Oh, you got to run. Aly's leaving.
I do.
Bye, Aly.
Bye, Aly.
Nice to meet you, Aly.
I have to do.
All right, I'm gonna take you off screen before you turn off, so it doesn't look weird.
Bye, guys.
So, all right, bye, Aly. We'll see you next time.
Aly.
All right.
She don't like to hang out with us for very long. Which, it's about all she can tolerate.
She's booked and busy.
Yeah, she's a very busy woman. But what was I even talking about? Oh, Puppet's origin story. So Amanda, a puppet was born in a MyPillow factory. Mike Lindell. Yes, Aly's like, I heard that. Oh, good. You better be watching. Puppet Carlson. See, Mike Lindell wanted a real conservative boy. Like you wanted conservative books. Mike Lindell dreamed of having a conservative boy, a real conservative boy. So what happened was he created, out of a wish upon a falling star, he created Puppet Carlson out of a MyPillow. And so one night, Puppet Carlson was born, made of the most comfortable pillow on the planet, where you can sleep comfortably and not worry about getting woke. And then that's why we have Puppet Carlson. So
you made that story much better today. Got to remind ourselves to watch this.
To keep from laughing.
Oh, well, maybe Amanda can write your origin story.
It was you forgot about the blue-haired fairy though, who came down with her conservative values and
she didn't have blue hair. She had blonde hair. If she had blue hair, she would have been a different fairy.
This was a blue-haired fairy, not the blue fairy. It was a blue-haired fairy.
Okay. So either way, Amanda, maybe you can write Puppet Carlson's origin story.
Not a woke blue-haired, but more like a bingo style. Bingo playing blue hair.
Not good.
Either way, look, we're gonna let Amanda deal with this. We're gonna let Amanda illustrate it with a great illustrator from England from across the pond. She can come up with the story. She is an author too, and I forgot to mention that she's not just the founder, she's also the author. She writes these books. So we'll collaborate. I'll be like that guy from Elf, the little person that if he called him an elf one more time, he ran across the thing and drop kicked him. So what's his name? Miles Finch.
That's it.
Yeah, I'll be like your Miles Finch. I'll tell you the story.
I almost got that part.
Did you? But what happened?
Well, they wanted someone who could actually walk on their own, for that table walking scene, and I was just out.
Yeah, well, there's probably Americans with Disability Act violation there. We probably could have went after him, but
we should sue.
We should think about it. Speaking of suing, and I just want to commend you. Now, Amanda, we're going to talk about some current events too. Are you good with that?
Yeah, of course.
All right, but I just do want to commend what you do as well, because
thank you.
Oftentimes we're playing defense. The kids go and learn garbage. They come home and tell us what they learned, and then we have to go and reteach them. What you do is you're allowing us to go on offensive parents and kind of give them the values before we send them off if they go to public school to be indoctrinated or wherever, because we don't know where they get their information from. And public schools are becoming they really are. The people that are going into these places are going with the intent of making them their kids, and it's a sick thing. People used to go into education because they care about educating kids. Now they care about indoctrinating kids. Now that means there's not good teachers out there. There are. I know some great public school teachers, but public school has become a battleground just like everything else, including our court, and which is my segue into good segue, right? Everybody knows what happened this week. Amanda, you know what happened. Heather, and Puppet. Well, you might have been in the trunk. You didn't know, but they convicted Trump of 34 felonies. And right after Biden lectured us about it being rigged, and us not allowed to saying it's rigged, and basically spiking the football, a reporter asked him whether or not it was rigged. And here is Creepy Joe.
Can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump refers to himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir? Do you think the conviction will have an impact on the campaign? We'd love to hear your thoughts, sir.
Should he be on the ballot, sir?
You guys seen that video before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that not the weirdest friggin' thing you've ever seen? That is so...
That's like the guiltiest grin. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut anybody off or interrupt, but it's like a guilty ass grin. He just looks and he just...
If you put that in a movie... and that was the character that was the evil scumbag politician, like it would be a perfect scene. It would be like, cut, we got it, one take, that was it.
Yeah. It's troubling because
perfectly creepy and just
well,
it enrages me. To be honest.
Look, we all feel the verdict enraged me, but then that enraged me even more. And if you read it, like read into it. Remember the speech in front of the dark brand? Oh, I forgot to turn on my other light. I just realized that half my set is in red.
The red, the Evil Joe red set.
Yeah, but yeah, and it was the Dark Brandon set. Remember in front of the White House with the red and everybody in the military behind him, and it's easy to think, and he is a puppet. He doesn't know what's going on. He is clearly cognitively impaired. But the people that are writing his script for his creepy character, they are he is playing the villain perfectly. And what you just saw with his creepy smile, he's celebrating the destruction of the faith we have in our justice system. That moment right there, I tell you, I think we all agree. Amanda, I mean, what were your thoughts on it?
I just thought it was really creepy, and it's kind of, a mix of, does he know where he is, or even what people are saying around him?
Well, I wondered that
smiling to smile, or is he really that vindictive and knows what's going on? So, I mean, I almost like to think that he just doesn't know where he is, hopefully, because that would actually be better than him having awareness and making that creepy face when somebody asks him if it's rigged.
Yeah, I wondered that too. I was like, maybe he's just smiling because he's lost and he knows he's getting his ice cream cone for having a good speech.
Always lost.
You just never know. But
say anything, he gets ice cream. So
he's like, he's going to get ice cream. Yeah, all he heard was, President Biden, are you going to get ice cream?
Right.
You're going to go.
Never know with him.
Yeah, you never know. So yeah, that was...
Go with a smile.
Yeah, exactly. You're not fully dressed without a smile.
Come on, that one's a good one.
Yeah. All right. So other than this creepy Joe Biden thing, the other things that are going on now, I told you at the beginning of the show, if you heard at the opening, I don't care about Hunter Biden and his stupid gun charges and his jury selection and all of this stuff. That should be a bigger deal, considering that that involves all kinds of corruption through his father. But let's go after Trump for calling legal fees a decade ago and charge him with a felony that he was never charged with. Let's go with that, right? That's
Hunter Biden has actually already, we know, committed a crime. Like there's no even debate about it.
Right. But the media is going to ignore it. They're going to say it's two separate things. They're going to give Biden the cover and say, "Oh, it's a family matter. It's a personal matter." You know, the lady who lies to the press will be like, "Oh, it's a personal matter. I'm not commenting," and they'll just pretend it isn't what it is. It's terrible. Another thing, but that I wanted to bring to you guys today, and then I have a video from a woman that I think is going to move all of you. What should we go with? I'm going to give you a viewer's choice. Okay. Should we go with Pride versus Palestine, or should we go with Marjorie Taylor Greene's takedown of Anthony Fauci? Which direction y'all want to go in? That's you guys.
Let's end with the Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, you want to end with that?
Yeah. End on a high note.
That was amazing. I finally felt represented.
It really was spectacular. I need to make sure we have time for it, guys. If you're watching, you get it at the end because it was an epic takedown. All right, let's go. Let's go with. And if you guys haven't seen this, this is over the weekend. There was a Pride protest, and there was also a Free Palestine protest, and they faced off. Check it out. It's like it's the worst ESPN game day I've ever seen, right?
Someone obviously invited the Village people, but they haven't gotten up on stage to perform yet.
Oh, you know what? I love that you said that. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yes, here it is. Hold on. You ready? Hold on. I'm going to put this on the screen. There, you ready? Hold on. There, I created this. This is the new Village people. You see what's different here, right? So here's the deal. In that crowd, I don't know if you guys saw. So there was Queers for Palestine marching against the gay pride protesters or demonstrate. I don't even know what the hell they were. They weren't protesting. I guess they were just demonstrating. It was a parade, and they're all fighting.
David, celebrating.
Whatever. There were two groups of conflicting armies marching upon each other with their drums banging. The only people missing were the environmentalists that like glue themselves to the ground, which would have just been Greta. And Greta should have been running through the middle of that. Oh my God, the environment too. It would have been perfect. So what do y'all make of that?
There's so much to unpack there.
Let's unpack it. That's what people are here for, to hear us unpack things for them so they don't have to think for themselves or read.
First of all, I love when the left starts like eating their own. That's my favorite thing, when two left groups start clashing because nothing they're saying makes sense. They, first of all, Queers for Palestine. How? And that's totally against their religious beliefs in Palestine. I'm not going to pretend that I know so much about the whole Palestine, whatever, but I know that they don't treat queer people nicely in Palestine. That's totally against their beliefs. So the fact that there is a Queers for Palestine is crazy to me.
Proves they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
They throw gay people off the roof in Iran.
Yeah, they throw them off buildings and like behead them.
Well, I've never been to Palestine, but I've been to Qatar, I've been to Afghanistan, and I've been to Iraq. So I've been very well immersed in, I'm on base in Afghanistan. I did convoys, but I would love for one of those Queers for Palestine to go test out their theory about Allah when they get over there, because all these people making these big statements and these big protests have never been outside their little protected bubble. And they don't know what lays on the other side of that. And I think that's what the most frustrating thing is as somebody, you are literally protesting for nothing at that point when you are so uneducated to realize what goes on in those countries. And that if you stopping traffic as a Queer for Palestine would be executed in Palestine for existing.
If they were holding that banner, Queers for Palestine, in the middle of the, town square in in Palestine, they'd probably be shot.
They wouldn't even be able to unravel it.
Yeah.
You know, like
So
they'd probably be hung by the sign itself. As you know what I mean? It's wild to me when people try to make these big, bold statements because they've just been on TikTok too long. You know, they haven't escaped their mom's basement or, you know, yeah, sorry.
So here's what happened in the aftermath of this, by the way. Check it out. I'm not sure what was going on, but apparently after these demonstrations, it was just a giant street fight. I don't even know what was going on there.
Those fights on video always look alike.
Yeah, you never know when they are or where they are. I think what we're starting to see is the cracks of society form, right? I mean, when you have groups who are protesting each other, attacking each other, attacking people just for attacking people. And of course, there's other videos of people like jumping on counters at fast food restaurants. This is a new thing, and like throwing things at the employees there. Society is falling apart, right, under Democrat leadership. And that's why what Amanda does is so important, because she's trying to teach kids morality in a way through books before they go and get ruined by the state, because we can see what's going to happen if you don't stop kids going down this path, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know where this goes anymore. But let me show you. Now, I want to show this video. This was posted today on Twitter. I saw this video. It's getting tons of views. It's going viral. And I think she's speaking to the heart of what we're all thinking.
Completely baffles me how stupid half this fucking country is. The America that I knew growing up is fucking gone. We live in a communist country. We're here. And this is coming from me, a college-educated woman. I have a master's degree in social work. I'm 31 years old. I did not grow up privileged. I grew up in a really fucked up situation. We're not going to get into that. And I've wanted nothing more than to be a mother. But this country, this world, I don't recognize it anymore. And it is so scary thinking about bringing a child into this world. I will keep praying for our country, but this shit's crazy.
And sorry for the F-bombs if you weren't expecting it, guys, but whatever. Those are real emotions. That's real life. What do y'all think? I mean, what she says, does that sound like us?
I agree with her. I don't have kids of my own yet. And I've always wanted kids. I've always wanted to be a mom. And it is scary, like thinking about, like I'm already setting up my life right now for when I bring kids into the world, just to be prepared. Like I bought a house with my parents. We'll have a house in the back, and, you know, having that community, having land, learning to make sourdough. Like I have my homeschool lessons prepared. Like I'm not giving my kids to the state at all. I don't plan to, but it's very scary, the world that we're growing up in, like how everybody's so opposite, and just the things that your kids could be corrupted with, and social media. And there's just so much more to think about now, I think, than like when I was growing up in the 90s. It just wasn't like this, and there wasn't as much to worry about. It's scary.
What's your take on that, Heather?
It's terrifying. I mean, I have a little boy, and it's the things, you know, I'll see these videos on Twitter of these school bus fights, or that girl that got her head cracked into the pavement, and I think it's still in the hospital, or is going to have severe brain damage for the rest of her life. You see these things happening, and, you know, it's like I see my little boy who's going to be a man, and I'm, you know, he will be raised to be a man. And weird thing that I even have to say that nowadays. But it's just, I feel like there are so many people after my son's generation's mind for nefarious reasons, for their own gain, whether it be politically, ideologically, and it's a travesty that as a parent, if I choose to stick my child in a public school indoctrination camp, which is what I call them, that's what they are, I'm going to have this back and forth tethering of fighting for my son's mind. And that is just not something that sits well with me, you know? And it's a really sad state because I was born in 85, so I'm 39. I didn't have my son till I was 35. So I had a career established. I had all these things going specifically for when I decided to have a child. And there's a lot of people that are not in that same position and they can't pivot. There's no possible way that they would survive in a 1 or 2 income household. You know, I've curated my job so that it goes around my son. Not everybody can do that, and I realize that, and that's what's the scariest thing is these people are going to have to utilize these institutions because they don't have another option, but that was by design. And that's the scariest part. And before I land on this, the one thing that I just really want to hit home on, and Aly and I have talked about it, I bring it up every single opportunity that I can, is looking up the 45 goals of communism as they were read into the 1963 congressional hearings. Now, where it starts at 15 and beyond is where it shows that they're going after our children's minds. They're going after their newspapers and their high schools. This was all written decades ago. And if you look at that list, they've infiltrated. And it's a very scary time to be a parent. And I would say for all parents.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I hear when I see that video, I said this today. Somebody put a post up. Forget who it was. It might have been Clown World. It was great videos, but they put a post up. It was just another video of somebody attacking. So it's just these violent videos that you can't help but see everywhere. And I said, I see these videos and I wonder if this country's lost, like irreparably, if there is even a country to save. And then I asked in response, I said, can somebody post a video that'll make me feel good about the direction of this country? Nobody posted one. And I understand people post things for clicks, but it seems like every day, whether people are being shot or robbed in our inner cities, the drug epidemics, the fentanyl, and having to, you can get Narcan at your grocery store now. I mean, we're the world.
They're in vending machines in downtown San Francisco.
Right. We're in a world now. This isn't the America we grew up in. It's not. The America we grew up in is much different than this. And the left thinks the America we grew up in is something to be ashamed of, and they want to destroy it, and they want to pretend it didn't exist, and they want to build back better. This new version of America, where people are destroying public property, where people are dead on the street from drugs, and people are fighting. Even groups who are they think are in similar sides of political issues are fighting each other. This country is unraveling because of the instability of leadership and the destructive politics in Washington, D.C. I mean, you saw that guy, what was his name? The one who sang that song in the woods that everybody loved, Oliver Anthony.
Yeah.
His song resonated with people. Why?
Everybody. That song there was a mashup that was done, and there was people of all colors, all ages, all spectrums, and they were all jamming out to it because it literally hit every single American to their core.
Because everybody's frustrated equally, I think. And I think that's really where we're at. I think because everybody's feeling hopeless. And this is sort of bringing it back to the point of the show. It can't, but it doesn't mean we have to stop fighting. And I've said it at the promo. I said we need to fight in our schools, like Amanda is doing with her books. We need to fight in the courtroom, like Trump is doing. We need to fight at the ballot box this November. We need to take our country back if there's a country left worth saving. And if we don't win this time, I don't think there will be much of a country left to save. And so these are dire times, but having people like you, Amanda, who do what you do with the books and trying to change what we feed our kids, intellectually, I think it's so important. And Heather, what you do and the work that you do out there in the social media space, trying to empower people and give them the messaging and the work you do for the campaigns. And Puppet, you come out of your trunk and do whatever the person who has their hand up your manhole tells you to do. I mean, all of it is just so inspiring. So, Puppet, do you have a take on it?
Yeah, I think this new America is really more of an America that is about, instead of being about self-reflection, this is about persecution. And instead of looking inward and saying, how can I be better? What can I do differently? How can I improve? How can I grow as a human being, as an individual? How did I do in this situation? And what is my role and responsibility in it, in the outcome, either positive or negative? And instead of all of that, all it is projection. We're just projecting the blame onto someone else. And that's what they do. They just project the blame, and no one takes responsibility for their actions. No one takes responsibility for what's going on. And ultimately, it's because the liberal politicians and the liberal movement and the deep state movement, or whatever you want to call it, is looking to make it doesn't look the same as it used to, because they're actively trying to make it look different. And they want it to be a place that is divisive, that is free of self-reflection and personal responsibility, and one that is of dependence and anxiety and depression, and ultimately things that, if people are in those states, they aren't self-reflective, and they don't grow, and they can't build upon themselves, and they can't feel good about their actions and make themselves better. They are dependent on the government, and that's ultimately what they want. That gives elitist power, and power is what people are after, politicians are after, and people in control are after. And very difficult for us to wrestle that control back once it's given away. And unfortunately, they have manipulated us, and they've caused us to give away our freedoms bit by bit by bit, and they've tricked us into giving them away. And now here we are, and it's very difficult to go backward, and that's why it doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
If I could just push back just on one thing, when you say they tricked us, they didn't trick us.
No, they didn't trick us.
They tricked them.
Yeah. Well, they've tricked
you
people.
know what I
They've
mean,
tricked
though?
a portion of the population.
Yes, yes, because I think everybody, on the screen, we haven't been tricked, and I think that's part of the problem, is where the divide is because we're seeing things for what they are. We're using critical thinking, we're using discernment, which somehow seems to be a lost art these days, especially with everything at our fingertips. People want to just consume what's put in front of them and not even question it. And I think that's where the divide comes from, is because half the population, you're right, has been tricked. They've been sold a lie. They've been sold a load of absolute bull. I'm going to censor myself for you, David.
That lady dropped the F-bomb on my tape. So.
But you know what I mean? Like, they've been, and we're just sitting here watching the lies come through, watching them absorb it and then regurgitate it as if it's fact. And it's wildly frustrating. I mean, that is like understatement of the year. But I think that's where the divide comes from, is they've succeeded in brainwashing such a large swath of our population that the rest of us are looking at them like,
that's a great
WTF.
segue. That's a great segue, Heather. Speaking of being lied to and brainwashing is a part of our population. Check it out.
Of science where you confess that you made up the COVID rules, including
I didn't hear what you
6
said.
feet social distancing and masking of children.
I never said I made anything up.
You admitted that you made it up. You
I
made it
didn't
up
say
as you went.
I made it up.
So are you saying this is fake news, Mr. Fauci?
I didn't say I made anything up.
What did you say?
I said that it is not based in science and it just appeared.
But this is science.
What does dogs have to do with anything that we're talking about today?
These are scientific experiments. This is what you signed off on. But you also told the American people they had to distance by 6 feet. They had to wear masks. But let's also talk a little bit further about the type of science that.
I'm going to hit these back to back real quick. Okay, here's another one.
And advice and making up guidelines like 6 feet distancing and masking of children. Do you think that's appropriate? Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? because you're not doctor. You're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes. No, I don't need your answer. I want to talk about this right here.
Mr. Chairman,
Fauci,
objection.
I reclaim my time.
Objection.
I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time, Mr. Raskin.
Gentlelady will suspend.
Mr. Chairman,
Point of order.
Just in terms of the rules of decorum, are we allowed to deny that a doctor is a doctor just because we don't want him to be a doctor?
Yes, because in my time, that man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in
Gentlelady will
prison.
suspend. The gentlelady should recognize the doctor as a doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you. This was a time in history where you got to throw out the first pitch at the Washington Nationals baseball game while Americans were forced to stay home and watch such events that they love from at home alone on their televisions. And what a hypocrisy this picture shows. Here you are without your mask, with empty seats everywhere. Remember the cardboard cutout fans? That was one of the most insulting things to Americans, having to watch the games from home where you got to go and enjoy the game and sit right next to people not following the 6 feet of distancing, not wearing your mask, and everyone else was forced to stay home and stop enjoying life. And your science here, your science is displayed perfectly in this picture where children in school were put in plastic bubbles because of your science, your repulsive, evil science. And let's go back to your very own email. You said earlier you don't use email. Oh, you do. Right here. This is your own email where you said the typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus. I do not recommend that you wear a mask. This is your email. This is your own words. But yet children all over America were forced to wear masks. Healthy children forced to wear masks, muzzled in their schools. And then they were forced to learn from home because of your so-called science and your medical suggestions.
Wow, right? I know there was a long clips there, but goodness. You talk about fighting back and you talk about being lied to. That there was no better, I think, display of calling out the hypocrisy of Dr. Fauci. I think he does belong in jail. Amanda, what do you think?
I totally agree. And the COVID times really made me sick, especially for our kids, because they were being muzzled. On top of them having to wear a mask and having to distance from their friends, which is completely unnatural for a child, and from their family, and families from grandparents. I mean, that whole time was just ridiculous, but it was always the rules for thee, not for me. Like, you know, Fauci doesn't have his mask on. I think Nancy Pelosi went to a hairdresser, didn't have her mask on. All this stuff was coming out, but nobody cared. Everybody was masking their kids. There was a study that came out from JAMA Pediatrics, I believe, and showing all of the disgusting bacteria that is found on a mask and how sick it can make your kids. People just kept doing it. I found it to be so sickening, like putting a mask on a kid. I would never do it for any reason whatsoever. But on top of them having to distance from their friends and not being able to really communicate with their friends at young ages, that's really damaging for a child not to be able to see mouths moving or not getting that full communication, being able to interpret body language. That all affects them much later on in life too. Like they're trying to get their basis down for, you know, just learning really basic stuff like how to speak, you know, and how to interpret
or just communication
emotion.
Too.
Yeah, just
emoting.
Exactly. Emoting, yeah, and that was lost during that time, and I feel really bad for the kids that were that were like abused during that time, I think.
Yeah. Well, take all this energy, right, and roll it over to our Twitter space that's starting in about 1 minute. We're going to go in there. We're going to continue this conversation. Amanda, I'm going to give you the rundown of how to do a Twitter space or an X space here in a second. So you can join us. And we're going to keep the conversation going with our Twitter or X audience. Amanda, people want to buy your books. I'll put up the graphic here. raisedrightbooks.org. Go and get your books, guys, for your kids. Great conservative content, great illustrations. Any closing words for the David Pollack Show audience? Or do you just want to tell us how crazy the show was and whether or not you'll be back? Everybody wants
I
to
loved
know.
it. Yeah, thank you for having me. I thought it was really fun. This is my first like live thing I've ever done, so this was exciting. It was nice to meet everybody, and thought we got some good. I love the clips you chose.
Thanks.
I'm glad we got to talk about Fauci because I hate him so much. And
A lot of Americans did. We'll bring that. Let's talk about it in the space here in just a couple of minutes, guys.
Oh,
Don't
for
forget,
sure.
if you want to join the conversation, we're going over to X at The Pollack Show. Check us out there. If you missed the show tonight or if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're watching us on X, make sure you follow and share. Tell your friends about everything. Follow everybody you see up on this screen here. And go check out Raised Right Books. Thank you, everybody, for being on the show. That's all we have today.